Her mother didn't usually call when she was taking care of the kids, so to hear from her in the middle of the day made her feel like something must have been wrong. But when she heard her panicked tone and little Molly crying in the background, she came rushing home as soon as she could. What had that dog done? Doña DeLuca was heartbroken when her dog of 13 years, Bailey, passed away. The Florida mother of 3 had had the family pet since he was a pup and couldn't imagine replacing her. But when she saw that 2-year-old German Shepherd Haas needed a home, she quickly changed her tune. Now all she had to do was convince her husband Adam, who had serious reservations about him. Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Adam still wasn't sure. Not only did he feel like he hadn't finished grieving for his previous pet, but he also didn't know about getting a fully grown rescue after friends said it wasn't the best idea when you have young kids, not to mention that Haas was an ex-army dog, and he'd soon regret not listening to them. But when Adam first laid eyes on Haas, all his reservations evaporated. He instantly fell in love with the German Shepherd and knew his wife was right. They simply had to adopt him. The children Molly, 7, and Jody, 4, quickly became enamored with the big dog. Haas was a former military dog, so Doña assumed the fact that he always stayed very close to the kids was just what he was used to. The clingy pooch would even check out the yard before the kids went out to play, as if he were scouting ahead. But Doña would soon discover what the dog was really anxious about. 2 months later, Doña felt comfortable enough to let Haas play with the children in the yard while they went to work and left them in the care of their grandmother. But one afternoon, Haas seemed particularly suspicious, doing extra checks of the yard, as if he was looking out to see who was watching. Molly was playing on the grass when it happened. When she picked up the phone, Doña was suddenly forced to question everything about the dog she'd grown to love as much as her last pet. But she didn't have the full story. Doña knew she wouldn't have been able to get home fast enough to do anything, but she put her foot down as she tried to make sense of her mother's frantic explanation. Minutes earlier, Molly was gathering Haas toys when looked up to see the giant hound bounding towards her. But it was too late. Haas was in attack mode, and there was nothing that could be done to stop it. Molly's grandma, as if sensing that something was amiss, glanced out the doorway and was met with a sight he'll never forget. But before she could make a move to stop it, it was already too late. Molly was lying still in the grass, pinned by the huge German Shepherd towering over her. She bellowed Haas' name as he watched in horror. Haas stood over Molly, teeth bared. Her grandmother was still too far away on the other side of the yard to do anything other than watch what the dog's next move was. Molly fell backward onto her backpack as Haas turned. What was he doing? And why was he so fixated on what was in the long grass? The dog leaped off Molly and lunged forward, his mouth opening with a flash of white as he struck his target, again and again, recoiling after each audible snap of his jaws. Grandma DeLuca reached the scene as Haas let out a sound that chilled her bones, but she had to get to Molly. Grandma DeLuca's mind raced at 1,000,000 miles a minute as she ran. She had heard of dogs just snapping, but could this have happened to Haas? She couldn't help but feel like it was all her fault. She should have been paying more attention. She shouldn't have let Molly go outside alone. A rattlesnake was poised to attack Molly, but its plans were dashed as Haas stood gallantly in front of her. She froze the second she realized the reality of the situation. Slowly, Molly backed away from the dangerous reptile, not wanting to startle it into attacking. But the snake knew what it wanted and quickly made its move. Grandma DeLuca had one thing on her mind, and one thing only. She scooped Molly up and ran to safety. She checked her all over until she was satisfied that she was unscathed. She was surprised to see that there wasn't a single scratch on the child. But when they turned their attention to Haas, Grandma DeLuca screamed. Molly had just escaped from the most dangerous snake in North America, the eastern diamondback snake. With a heavy, powerful body and long fangs, these rattlesnakes' bites have a 30% chance of being fatal to a human. Although these snakes are not usually aggressive, this one had had a protective house to contend with. Haas had been shielding Molly from the danger and had sacrificed himself. But would he pay the ultimate price? The snake sank its teeth into Haas' paw, then again and again. The kids rushed to house aid as the scaly aggressor slid away. Molly walked away from the terrifying situation unscathed. When Donya arrived, they put the dog in the car and headed straight for the vet before the venom could take effect. Haas was treated at Blue Pearl Veterinary Partners Animal Hospital. Due to the injury to his paw, the poor pooch couldn't walk without stumbling. As Haas' life hung in the balance, the vet bills began to grow exponentially, too much for the family to afford. But they were determined to do everything they could for the dog who had risked his life for their daughter. They created a GoFundMe account to try to raise the funds for Haas' treatment, with a $28,000 goal to cover his medical expenses. But would anybody respond? Fortunately, the vet is confident that Haas will make a full recovery. But the family never expected such an outpouring of love and support from Haas' GoFundMe campaign. The vet's bill equated to $28,000, an absurd sum of money for anyone. He definitely didn't have that kind of money just lying around. He would have to think on his feet to try and come up with a plan. He had no idea what he would do. But little did he know, the solution was busy being sorted out right under his nose. It had been a week since the trip to the vet, and thankfully, Haas was doing extremely well. He had recovered from the snake bite, but put his owner in crippling debt. Adam was just glad that his pup was okay. But everything would change when he got a strange phone call. Just as Adam thought that he'd have to take out a mortgage just to be able to pay for the vet bills, his phone started ringing. It was an unknown number calling him, and even though he didn't normally answer them, something felt different. He had a gut feeling that this was an important call, but when he answered, he didn't recognize the voice on the other side. The man told Adam that he wanted to help him. He had heard about his struggles with his dog and was thankful that he had made a recovery. Adam was understandably suspicious. How did this man know about his life so much? But then things took an even stranger turn. The man directed Adam to a website he'd never heard of before. Adam should have known better, but he decided to trust the stranger. He followed his directions down to the letter. Did this man really want to help? Adam just hoped things would work out for the best. Adam finally made it to the website, but he couldn't believe what he was looking at. There was a GoFundMe page for Haas treatment. The anonymous caller explained that he had set it up for him after overhearing him speaking to the doctor at the vet. Adam couldn't thank the man enough, but when he looked at how much money had been raised, tears formed in his eyes. The man that had called Adam explained that the GoFundMe page had started out slow, but picked up traction on social media after someone shared Haas' story. This meant that people from all over the world saw it, and they were more than willing to donate to the pup in need. But with so many people, the amount of money became ludicrous quickly. When news of the dog's heroic actions spread on social media, the public was so awed by Haas' fighting spirit that the cash began to pour in. Within just a few days, the campaign had reached a whopping $51,000, almost double the DeLucas' original goal. Now with his family and hundreds of Americans rallying for him, Haas had to fight as hard for his own life as he had fought for Molly's. And with all the support, care, and love being sent to Haas the hero dog, a miracle happened. Miraculously, Haas was ready to go home in just 7 days. Luckily, he had received treatment just in time, and vets were able to mitigate the massive amount of venom he had absorbed. But the DeLucas had more money than ever now. But what would they do with it now? Haas bills were paid for, which left them with a whopping $24,000 left over. The kindness of strangers had helped them out more than they could imagine. It didn't feel right to spend the money on anything selfish. This money was a gesture made out of kindness, so they had to do the same that others had done to them. After paying Haas veterinary bills, the DeLucas decided to send the rest of the funds to Heidi's Legacy Rescue, where Haas was adopted, as well as other shelters in the area. Donya hopes Haas' story will raise awareness for other dogs in need. The DeLucas decided that they would try to find a way to thank all of the donators for saving their wonderful dog. That's why they set up the social media page in the first place, but they never expected it to catch on. Now people across the world could see what their donations made possible: the health of their spectacular dog. The DeLucas had no idea how much attention their dog would even get. They set it up more out of obligation than anything else. They didn't want to give millions of people the cold shoulder after they were kind to them. But after only posting a handful of photos, the followers started rolling in. Their dog was a big hit. The social media page grew rapidly over the next few months and exploded into a sensation. People loved Haas and the heartwarming story he had to tell. What was even better was that many people who saw the post were redirected to a link on their page. The DeLucas cleverly put up a link on Haas' page that had a caption, "If you like me, you should go check out the shelter I came from. There are lots of others like me." The link sent people to Heidi's Legacy Rescue's website. The family was happy to hear that many people from across the world were now donating directly to the shelter thanks to them. And what was even better was that many more people were coming into the shelter to adopt their very own Haas. This meant that many older dogs were given the chance they otherwise wouldn't have gotten.